Hey, good morning to you. Mark Seth, HurricaneTrack.com here. It is just about 5 a.m., a few minutes before 5 a.m. on Monday, the 26th of September, 2022. Ian, now a hurricane, so I want to do a fairly quick update here. I'm actually in Orlando, Florida. Been driving all night with my colleague Matt, who made it safely. We're in Florida to cover this hurricane now, and I'll talk about that towards the end of this update here. I'm tired, so hopefully I can get through this. All right, so Ian is a hurricane. Top winds 75 miles per hour, the pressure down to 983 millibars, and it is moving northwest at about 14 miles per hour. This is what it looks like on the satellite animation. Pretty well organized from where it was in the last few days. Very excellent banding going on in here. The central core trying to get developed right in there. And this well-established outflow in the upper levels of the atmosphere. You can even see the outline of it there starting to take shape. Ian is poised to significantly strengthen here over the next several days. All right, looking at some of the guidance here, this is so important. The TVCN, that is the consensus, and the TVCA, X, and others related to the consensus through here. Some of them are up through here roughly, but they converge generally down here just off the west coast of Florida. The divergence of the models really starts to happen at about day 4 and beyond, as you could imagine, but closer to the current time frame. I mean, it just makes sense. We do have a little bit more of a blend and an agreement of these models, generally just off of the coast here from Tampa, St. Pete, and near Cedar Key and the Big Bend of Florida. That whole area really now going to be under the gun for a lengthy period of time of potentially hurricane force wind, significant storm surge flooding, and significant rainfall. So this is really, as I said in my evening update yesterday, it is about impacts instead of what category is it and how strong are the winds. The winds are important, but it is the total package of impacts, and that is going to be significant, it does look like, for a good deal of the Florida Peninsula here, starting with the Keys, where the effects will be felt as early as later today through Tuesday, and then that's going to spread up the rest of the peninsula here, not just at the coast, but inland to some degree as well, and then potentially up into parts of the southeast from there. We're just going to have to see how all of that unfolds. So just refreshing this a little bit here, I want to show you just a few things. Let's see if the track map has been updated. It has. And so they have it as a major hurricane, the National Hurricane Center does, not far off of the Tampa coastline. I just want you to take that in for a second. A major hurricane, a Category 3, more than likely, we better hope it's not stronger than that, just off of the coast of Tampa. Now there is a hurricane watch in effect for the west coast of Florida there, and then the hurricane warning for the west coast of Cuba, tropical storm warnings for portions of the Florida Keys out to the dry Tortugas. It is going to ratchet up today. A lot of this giant wheel that gets into motion for hurricane preparedness is going to start happening today. Government, down to businesses and you personally. This is it. Today is your last real solid day to do something before Ian really starts to become a problem here in the southeast Gulf of Mexico. It is going to expand in its wind field and its size overall and be a significant threat here for major impacts for a good deal of the Florida Peninsula. But there are potential changes with that track. We know that. It's been wavering just a little bit in the model guidance. That is why we have some tracks over here still near the Florida Panhandle and some tracks that bring it deep into the peninsula of Florida with a solid landfall. And then there are those that are faster along the track differences. So not only do you have the angle of the approach, which angle it is that is coming in, but how fast it is moving along. And I'm going to show you some of this in the actual modeling here as we go forward. But first, real quick, I do invite you to make sure you check out this area on the National Hurricane Center homepage that has all of these wonderful graphics and clickable and in some cases zoomable products like the storm surge inundation the wind advisories, the key messages, they're all in here, including potential flooding. And it's a moderate risk now for a good deal of Central Florida. The peak surge forecast, this will get updated as we go forward. We are talking up to 8 feet here, 5 to 8 feet. That is nothing to mess around with. 5 to 8 feet, 4 to 7 feet down here. This is near where Charlie made landfall. And then down in the Keys and parts of southwest Florida, mainland Monroe County, southern Collier, 3 to 5 feet. And this is extremely important. All right? It is above ground level, not just storm surge above the low water level or some mean tide or anything like that. It is very, very simplified now. It is above ground level, so areas that are normally dry could see a storm surge of 5 to 8 feet where it is outlined there, and on down to the Keys, as I showed you, between 2 to 4 feet. So that's important. Normally dry ground could be inundated significantly here, and these numbers are going to go up, I guarantee it. All right, so let's look at some of the modeling here. This is the ECMWF, the Euro as we know it, from the 0Z run last night. And watch what happens here. It's a couple of interesting things with Ian as it comes up, crosses Cuba. It's not very strong. That's one interesting thing. And then it does try to strengthen as it approaches Florida. It gets really close to Tampa there. But then look, it just sits there. It slows down, and then it just sits there for a number of hours before finally lumbering in there right over Cedar Key. That slowdown right there starts at hour 63. So that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24 to 27 to 30, maybe 33, 36, 39, 42. Are you kidding me? Almost 48 hours or more where it just sits there off the coast of Tampa? Folks, this is absolutely a terrible scenario. It really is. You just like, it's just sitting there piling the water up potentially in Tampa Bay along the west coast of Florida, Cedar Key, Homosassa, Crystal River, and even farther to the south, Fort Myers, all of that onshore flow where it just gets pushed onshore. Let me zoom in down here and I can show you a little bit better. Anywhere where you've got that onshore flow, let me just back this up a few frames, that'll help right there. So it's just going to sit down there for a while, and just all these isobars in here, this is your wind flow, generally speaking. All of this is onshore flow, just sitting there, pounding the coast for potentially 2 entire days. That is not good at all. We need that to change. I mean, that has got to change, or it could be an enormous problem for our friends down here in the Sunshine State, as you can see here. I mean, no doubt about it. Very, very disconcerting to see this potentially take shape here over the coming days. And let me just back this up, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. It comes up there. This is 21Z on the 28th. It doesn't start moving again appreciably until later in the day on the 30th. Wow. I mean, that's really shocking, especially for this part of Florida. The storm surge effects could be substantial, life-threatening. GFS, on the other hand, much stronger, and more to the west, and then it finally makes landfall there, basically on the west side of the Big Bend. We can zoom in and I can show you this right here, just a little bit better example. It weakens near landfall, but don't let that fool you. It weakens from a wind perspective, not necessarily from a total impacts perspective. And what I mean by that, let me use blue here to illustrate storm surge. The storm surge all throughout this area would still be absolutely significant because the GFS scenario is frightening in the fact that it strengthens it to a very strong Category 4 right through here. Looking just at the pressure, that seems to be about a Cat 4 in this scenario here. And then look even on the eastern side, the way these winds are coming in, got high pressure building in over the eastern U.S., that pressure gradient, the squeezing of the air, the difference in pressure over distance, we call that a gradient. We're going to pile up the water potentially on the Florida East Coast. This is just amazing. I mean, it really is, and certainly not in a good way. The scenarios that the different models are showing here, the Euro is terrible, the GFS is terrible. It doesn't look like there's really a solid way out from this just yet. And this makes it even more like, all of the guidance for the most part, except for just a couple of the models, unanimous just about, almost 100% that this will make it to Category 4. That is nothing to play with at all. You must take this seriously and put your plan into action. Know where you're going to evacuate to if told to do so, and get on with it as soon as you can. So again, I'm down here in the Florida area, and my job will be to work this project. We've got the Hurricane Landfall Project to set up these pieces of equipment. I'm going to put a link to this. It's a PDF file in the description of today's video. You can read all about it here. Really appreciate our good friend Tim Melman putting this together. But this is what we do. All right, we set this equipment up. We've had tremendous success with it, especially over the last 5 years, from the devastating impacts of Michael to the unbelievable, relentless season of 2020, and then most recently last year with Hurricane Ida, especially in the Laplace, Frenier Landing area. And this is what we do. This is why I'm down here. So where are we going to start to set up these pieces of equipment? I'm currently in Orlando. Tomorrow, we're going to head down here to Key West. We're going to start there and then figure it out up the coast from that point on. And when we do get going, probably mid-afternoon tomorrow, I'm going to get some sleep after this. I'm going to tell you that right now. And I'm going to get up around noon, and then we're going to get to work, my colleague Matt and I. So in the early to mid part of the afternoon, I don't know exactly what time, but certainly by 3 p.m., we will be streaming live on our YouTube channel, free for everybody to watch. It'll be publicly available. Our vehicle cam, you'll be able to see what we're doing. We can talk to you through this and kind of see how things evolve as we travel south to the Keys, and then get ready to set up all of that equipment that I showed you here. These camera systems, the anemometers. There's Brent in some of these pictures from the past. He's not joining us on this mission. It's just myself and Matt for now. We may bring in some other help as needed. All right, so Ian, officially a hurricane, and officially potentially a gigantic problem, first for Cuba, but a bigger problem for Florida. And I mean, this is it. This is the, they say it only takes one. Maybe this is that one for this year. We will have to wait and see. All right, that is what I know. It's just now coming in, all this info. As you see this, make of it what you will. Be ready to react accordingly. It's coming, folks. All right, I'm going to get this online for you, then I'm going to get in the bed and get some much-needed sleep so that we can work to the best of our ability here starting tomorrow and for the next several days. As always, thanks for tuning in and listening to me talk to you. I am Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack. I will do another update this afternoon before we take off.